Hey, it's Vanessa filming for Carolyn's Musings on YouTube and Etsy and One Way Journals on Facebook. So warm welcome if you're a returning subscriber or if you've just dropped by as a newbie to this channel, warm welcome to you, and I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. So this one is using, now you can use your scraps, your book pages, old hymn books, which is I've scored some, so I'm very excited about that, how to show you those, and digitals that you can have anything to coordinate with these. And so what they are is that I'm sort of calling them a gift pouch envelope, and so the variety of these uses can be to send happy mail. If you make them smaller, they can go into your journals, or they're fantastic to have on hand if you make up a whole bunch of them and use them for gifts and things. So you can put all sorts of gift ideas, not stack them too heavy because they're not very wide, but they are fantastic to you could put stationery in them, all sorts of things. So this is what we've got for you today. So I'm just going to flick over to the next bit on how to make some with some baking paper first, and then we've got sort of a romantic vibe going with these gorgeous digitals of Carolyn's, and then later on we're going to switch over to show you some fun ones with some pansy kits. So I made some of these maybe 18 months ago when I did a Christmas swap, and we had like 12 days of Christmas. And so one of the days I made some of these envelopes and I put a whole bunch of pattern napkins and things so that the recipient could use it for a whole lot of collage. And so I did something very similar with this. So the idea of these is I had a really large rectangle doily. And then what I've done is I've just glued it, and don't worry about the wrinkles on it because it's going to be covered up, and use some baking paper, and that's just given it a bit more stability. And so this one still needs to be collaged. And then what I did was, because of these beautiful digitals that Carolyn gave just before Mother's Day, so they're beautiful Mother's Day papers that were free for the Facebook group, so we'll put the link in the description box. They're free for about a month or so, and then they go on a minimal cost. So I'll put all the link for all the information. Now I have ripped up the pages, but before I did any more, I wanted to show you that I did the same thing, but I tea dyed the baking paper as well as the doily. And so it's just sort of given it more of a vintage look. Now, before I did any more on it, I just wanted to show you that these were the pages for one of the hymn books that was the index to first line. So it's probably something that I wouldn't put on the outside. So I've just used those pages to firm up this part of the inside. But I wanted to show you what it looked like before I did any more covering. So this is sort of obviously covered in under here. And here I would do more of sort of like a teared look and collage towards the top. So I wanted to show you that. So this page was, so they're all double pages. There's 5, and this one was sort of covered, the biggest one amongst the center of the double page. So I've just torn that and inked it, and I thought this would go really well so that I've still got the lace doily on the outside, which I've cut. You can see that I've cut the scallop there, but not on the sides. And then what that's going to do is I'm going to glue that down there like that, and then that bit folds over the top here. And then I've got to decide what I'm going to do with the rest of the papers. So this was, as you can see here, that's torn from there, and so that goes there. I was thinking not to waste the corner. I might put that here. It says a friend loves at all times, so I might glue that one there and then do some other torn bits along here. So that's that. And then some of the other pages. Now these are all, I've already torn them in half because my idea is to tear out the flowers and tear out some of these bits and pieces. A Christian friend speaks truth and love even when it's hard. The righteous choose their friends carefully. A sweet friendship refreshes the soul. So there's beautiful papers here. As you can see, I've just sort of torn them in half. And here we go. Here's some more. I'm sorry that they're already torn in half. But I thought I should quickly film this before I sort of rip them up any further. This one I've already used a piece and put it on another envelope. So I'm actually going to just instead of you watching me tear those up, I'm going to do that and then sort of place them and then come back to you to show where I've got with that. What I've also done is I love Carolyn's vintage doilies. I printed them several times over, used them in lots of projects. I've already used them all up, so I've had to print a whole new set. I've already started putting them on some of the other envelopes, and I think these might be able to work in some spaces that I need to fill as well. So we'll link this kit in the description because you can see they're just, oh, I love them. Some really pretty green ones that I've already used. But as you can see, they're just, yeah, they're fabulous for projects like this. So I'll come back to you with how it looks and some examples of some of the other envelopes and what we can do to embellish them and stitch around them, all that sort of fun stuff. Okay, so I finished this. It's actually quite a long one, and please forgive me that I'm doing a lot of the craft stuff offline. I'm struggling with breathing and allergies at the moment. Lots of people are suffering with it, so apologies for that. Okay, so I collaged everything front and back, and as I said, I just kept that one plain and then brought it over the front, and I've used my vintage hymn books to collage, and then these beautiful doilies from Carolyn, and then I've just ripped up all those pages and put up here with a bit of lace. There's a bit of texture here as well. So what I did was, after I did that, then and I know it's a bit long, but you could put like a scarf. You could put, oh, I'd love to hear, comment down in the comments section of what you would love to put in these sorts of things to give to people. You could do it as happy mail. You could do it with just gifts throughout the year. So anyway, so there we go. And then what I did was I created a really quick journal. And when I say quick, I mean it's pretty quick. I think it's first time I might have done this, where I've just printed 250 GSM, which is the thickest cardstock I think you can get through the printer, and I just printed one of the pages front, and then one of the there's a whole bunch of papers that are on the freebie section as well, so we'll link that in the description box, these beautiful rose papers. And so I just backed it on the back, and then I've left it in the other room, but I just used decal scissors to do all the pages. So basically the 5 pages, there's 1 on the cover, and then there's 4 throughout here. Now normally I would probably do that this way and then the pattern on the other side. It's my go-to, but I really wanted this in the center. So that's in the center, just bound it together in a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. Coffee dyed papers, I've got a whole stack of those, and I was going to use them, and then I remembered with this I had some parchment paper in green and pink. So this is just inked on the edges, and it's pretty much just a notebook. I wouldn't even really call it a journal. You can, because I haven't added any ephemera in it. But look at these beautiful rose papers. I've just put a variety of them on the back of those. If you can just have a quick little flip through. So that's just really sweet, and then that means that can go in here, and I've just put a lace on there on the edge, and that can go in there. Okay, so I was going to make another one, and so what I've done is this time to have your shapes. So that one was really long. What I've done is I've used my paper stock and I've put 2 together. Now if you see here, there's the join, so I've just overlapped them slightly and joined them, so it's very long that way, and then folded it up here because I thought the journal could fit in here. So what you do is you just sort of measure it up so that it can peek out a little bit, and then I'll stitch down the sides. And then what you want to do is when you fold that up, this bit you want to leave about that much of a gap so that you've got room to pull things out of, and then fold it over there. So I have Collage once again. What I did was it's a very pale printout. So instead of using book pages as the base, I've used a digital printout just because it was quicker and easier for me. And so that's my base. So there is that on the edge. It all needs to be inked. And then I've just collaged on the back, and I started doing here. So little bits, I've just used a glue stick. I ran out, so I need to get a new one out. Here we go. I like using Yoo-hoo, and just make sure the majority of it I've just used a glue stick in the center, and then some things, if I really want it to stick down around the edges and I don't want it to catch, then I'll use the art glitter glue. So I've collaged there, and I've collaged up to this point. Now, because I used, I think it was 160 GSM, I actually think this is thick enough, and I probably don't need to collage down the bottom here. Okay, so I had a bit of an idea for this one, and if I can find my digitals. So this was one of the pages, and what I did was I put it over into a Word document and then blew it up, not quite double the size, but it was nearly one size A4 sheet, but you could be letter size. So I've done that, and then I printed it twice. Held the two pieces together, I tore around the edges of them and inked them, held them together, and then tore it exactly the same spot. So we've got two images exactly the same. So my idea was that this part of the print would sit there on the lid, the flip up bit, this bit down here, and it will come in under here. And I'm going to show you when I glue it together and hope it all is going to work. You'll see why I've printed it twice in just a minute. So let's take off one of them and line this up where we want it to go. So hang on, you'll see why in a minute. So if I've got that there, do I like that top and bottom? I'm going to move it down just a bit more. There we go. And I want to glue down the bottom first. So I am on this edge. I'm going to use the art glitter glue. Okay, and just down the side. So I've got it in place. Okay, like that. And then I want to make sure that this is measured up properly. I'm happy with that. And I want to glue up the top so this is in place. Hopefully I'm in camera, in shot, and you can see that. Okay. Okay, so that's there like that. Then my idea is this will come under here, and we're going to actually cut this for the lid in that shape, the lid as in the flat. Okay, so what we can do is we can switch over to the glue stick. Okay. Actually, I'll just use glue stick for it all and then come back with the art glitter glue. So that's going to go there like that. Okay, and this is how we're going to have an image match up. So we'll glue this as well. This makes sense in my head, so I'm hoping that it will be a good idea. So what we want to do then is get the scissors and come along here like this. So it doesn't, you know, our things don't always have to be straight across. We can have some interest in it. Okay, I don't know, could go up like that. And there you go, see the image is there with the lid, and then I need to ink that one just a little bit more. Okay, so we can ink that white edge there. We can fix this up in just a minute and glue it down better. Yeah, I didn't measure that up properly. It's just sort of come down a little bit here, but that's okay. I don't want to cut that off because then I'll have a bit of oh no, I won't have a problem. And now the reason why I printed this twice, now I can always use this for something else. I'm quite happy with that, and that's why I tore it where I did, because then it's left me with a whole flower here that I can use. I can do this as a pocket in something, and that's why I actually chose this image. So the reason I printed it twice was because now I can glue this and put it here, and then the image continues when we open up the flap. So what I need to do, you do all this before you stitch down this pocket or glue it down. So what I want to do is run my glue along here, and I want a nice flat neat edge. So I'm going to use the art glitter glue, and it's not going to go all the way up, just that much. Let's use some glue stick there and match that up there like that. Close enough. Okay, and so then it is actually unfortunately going to chop that off, but that's okay. And then we can come to this side here and we can cut this off. Okay, like that. And so the image continues there and there. Okay, so hopefully you like that idea. And see, it's got quite an interesting section there. So what I need to do is, when you have little bits like this, you need to go back and check and close down all those bits that are still, maybe I didn't use enough glue, or I was just trying to get things down, because sometimes you just glue the edges because you want to tuck things in underneath. So just remember that when you're collaging, don't glue everything flat down. You might want to just glue your edges, because then you can go back and tuck things in, because you might like an image in underneath something rather than sitting it on top. Okay, so what I'm going to do is going to round the corners, ink the edges, and then I'm going to actually run the sewing machine, with the sewing machine, run a stitch around the edge. Okay, and then I'll come back and show you that and what else I'm going to do. I'm sorry, so there's that one. And then I had another thought of what to do, because these beautiful rose papers that were that I used to put in that journal, there's so many of them, they're gorgeous. I was thinking of making another envelope. So this one, what I've done is I have printed, this is from a lace paper kit that Carolyn has, and then this one is the flowers, the white flowers on a linen background, and this is from the Abiding in Bloom kit, so you may have that. What I've done is, once again, I've used 160 GSM, so it's lightweight cardstock, and I printed front and back because I thought this time I don't want to collage as much. It does take a fair bit of time to do it, and I'm trying to give you lots of ideas. So I printed 2 pages, and then you can see I've stuck it together, just allowing that sort of much overlap there. And I printed on one of them on the back, so that when we open up the flap, we've got a print here, and it comes down a little bit down here, so that when we're opening up the pocket, we don't see white straight away. But you don't need to put the print down here. Obviously, it's just a waste of ink. All right, so what I've done there, I want to actually, so when you fold it up, you've got to leave a little bit of a gap and then make your fold. And I don't want this lid to be the flap to be too big. So I'm just going to fold that there. And even though I have printed this lace paper again, what I thought was, if I cut this off, I want to use that as a pocket. And so we're just going to think about a closure, a different type of closure for this one. There we go. So here we've got an envelope, and you can, I'm going to chop down the sides, and I'll decide on the size. I might even make this one a bit you know, this one is this wide, this big, but if I don't put a journal in it, let me see the way I folded it, will it fit? It's not going to fit one of these size journals in anyway, so it's going to be more for a gift of, you know, you could put I don't know, anything, a whole bunch of Pamper Pack stuff in there, you know, like face masks and things, because they'd be flat. So I'll decide how far I'm going to cut that down. But what I was going to do was use this to cut out a window pocket, and then I was going to use this beautiful paper as a tag to go in, and the tag's going to stick up here, and it's actually going to close down our flap for us. So then what I'll probably do is then use some of this paper and collage it on the top there to break it all up. So anyway, I hope you don't mind. I'm actually going to do that off camera. It's quite late here on Saturday night and I'm not feeling too well. I've got a massive headache, but that's okay. Let me go do all this and then I'll come back to you and show you. Okay, so what I've added to this is a bit of lace that comes underneath the lip there. So that's an idea for that one. And we've already gone through this one with the journal inside, and then this one I've just made as well. So this one is an example of how you could do your closures. I haven't really done closures on the other ones yet, but this one is using, so what I've done is I changed my mind. I had actually printed this and this on the inside, but I changed my mind, wanted the darker on the outside. So this is from Lace Papers of Carolyn's, and as you can see, it's printed that light one. This is Abiding in Bloom, that backing paper, that's where I've got that. And I've torn the rose paper across there. This one I haven't used my hymn books. I haven't done as much collage in this one, but there we go. So that's that. And then I put some lace up the top. I've stitched around the outside. Now I tend to use a cream that's cotton that's in my machine, and so it's not really visible, but when you feel it, you can feel the texture of the sewing around the outside. So what I did was just cut a rectangle and then a window out of it, and then glued it down 3 sides. And then from the rose paper, I did reduce the size to a page so I could get smaller flowers, and then I've just fussy cut them and then put them here over the window. So when you take the tag out, you can see the backing here, but you can also have a bit of collage, and I've used a bit of gold pen just on those bits to make those pop a little bit, and then just made a big giant tag. And so that's got a lace strip across there, and then I've had this in my stash, just a beautiful peach coloured embroidered butterfly, then an eyelet and some lace, and once again stitched around the edge of the tag. This is from Lace Papers as well. I've put this on the back, and then some leftover little bits from cutting out that paper. I got these bits and just sort of put them on the back there. Now when you put that in there, that is what's keeping the envelope pouch closed. On the back, as we double printed for the other journal, I didn't want to waste this space, so I've glued this down as a pocket, and on the back I've printed the paper again and just sort of made it as a big spot to write on. And then in here, this is what I want to show you next. I did reduce this down in size a little bit, but this is the gospel, the basic gospel digital set. Oh my gosh, it's absolutely stunning, and it will be so versatile to add in as filler pages for any of your journals. So I've just reduced this in size a bit, printed that on the back and popped that in there. So there we go. And I want to put a very basic journal in the pouch, but before I do that, I need to show you these papers. So this is the digital, the Gospel Basic Digital Set. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so we've got the Gospel of Matthew, the Gospel of Mark, Gospel of Luke, John, and being a bit boring, but I'm just using that linen from Abiding in Bloom as the backing. Then we have Psalms. Isn't it beautiful? Carolyn has put this beautiful rose pattern over it. So Psalms, there's a second Psalm sheet here. And then got that. And then we've got Proverbs and a second Proverb sheet. So still floral again, but just a bit smaller. And then these pages here you could look up the lines and find out where they're from, but this one doesn't say which part of the Bible it's from. So it can be a bit more generic on your page. So that one, and then this one as well. Okay, so with this kit, you get all of these with the beautiful floral, but to make it even more versatile, Carolyn has done it again, but these are blank, so without the floral overlay on them. So I won't go through them all, but you'll see here how versatile are these to use in your journals. Now, I have printed these in 120 GSM, so it's a heavier weight paper stock, which is what I tend to use for my signatures. But I've also done in the past some of the Old Testament papers that Carolyn has kits with. I've been able to find newspaper print, and so it's flimsier and feels, it's a little bit coloured, and it feels like a Bible page. So if you can get newspaper print, is perfect to add to flip through your journals as a filler page. So giving you those options. Now I want to go cut these out and make them into a basic journal. And when I've done that, I had one other idea for you with, if you're using collage, etc. with your journals, like I've done here, these, if you don't have the hymns, etc. that I've been able to get a book from, these would be perfect to tear up and to use as collage. And the other thing you can do is most of our desks have a whole bunch of strips of paper that we've cut off when we've backed something. What you could do is just use strips to collage your pouches or your tags, anything like that. Make them into a master board, and it's a great way to use up all your strips. Okay, so I'm going to go make that journal, and then I'm going to switch over. We're going to have a bit of a change of pace. We're going to show you something that is stunning on how to make some of these using the Pansy kits. So the Pansies, the paper is stunning, and also there's fussy cuts kits as well. So I'm using those to make a couple more pouches. So I'll be back in just a sec to show you those. There's also, you'll see featured in it is some dragonflies. Oh my goodness, they're so fun. The colors are bright and fabulous. If you're a Ko-fi member of Carolyn's over on her Ko-fi website shop over there, it's $2 American a month, and Carolyn puts freebies over there. So if you're a member of that, there's a whole bunch of fantastic dragonfly fussy cuts that you'll want to grab if you're a member over there. Okay, be back in a sec. Okay, so I finished a quick little notebook just to pop inside, and as per the other one, I just printed on cardstock the pattern on the front, that on the inside, and then all the papers. It's only one signature. Our church at the moment after Easter is going through a series for 2 months as you go, and it's talking about being baptized, making disciples, etc. So I actually think this will be a perfect, because of the Gospels in here, a perfect little notebook. And so yeah, you can dress it up. This center double page here, this would be really fun if you, there's an ephemera pack. I don't have the ephemera pack, but there's fantastic with this basic gospel set. There's envelopes and tags, pockets, etc., which will be so versatile with other kits as well. That would be really great to do like a loaded pocket center in here. I've just used all the pages that were in this kit without any other things, but definitely use these as, because I've just sort of done it as one signature, very basic, but you could, I really would love to make a bigger journal with it, with the ephemera, and use a couple of signatures and use these as filler pages inside. Honestly, it would be gorgeous. Okay, so that's that one there. And then, as I said, that just closes under the tag. Now, let's switch gears for a sec. I wanted to show you what I made using the Pansy kit. So there's a whole bunch of backing papers, which are fantastic. So we've got bright yellows and purples. I love pansies. It actually reminds me of my childhood. My mum is a gardener. Unfortunately, I'm not. And every spring, we had pansies in the garden. It just was so bright and colourful. So I love them. So what I've done is made the pouch again. These ones haven't been stitched, so I've just glued down the side. Now, you can use your base paper as your book papers. So if you've got a whole bunch of books that you've picked up from op shops, you can use that as your base. Just stick your pieces together, like glue them together, and then you can collage your images over the top. So that's what I have done. I just used the index pages on the vintage hymn book that I picked up, and then the pages with all the hymns and the numbers on them, I've torn them up and collaged over the top. So there, and you can see that I've used gold fleck on those. So I think I've left the gold one in the other room, but here's the rose gold one. So you just put a bit of glue and then press it on and then peel off the excess once it's dry. So you can see these are the beautiful papers in the kit, and then there's a whole bunch of fussy cuts. So I've done strips of washi tape there. This is like a little sticker I had in my stash. There's some more washi there, and then there were pearl bits here, so I've just put pearls on the top. So there's that. Now look at these dragonflies. As I mentioned, there's some in the fussy cut kit, but if you're over on Ko-fi and you're a member of Carolyn's, she's got a whole bunch of dragonflies. And so what I've done is I've just gone over with some rainbow glitter that I just glued and then glitter over the top. So there we go. And it's got this fussy cut kit of pansies has got little bees as well. And then you'll see here, this is a doily. There's two doily patterns in those, and I've just used the gold fleck again there. So the doilies are great to dress up a pouch. How fun are these? So you could put anything in them, like a little notebook, or you could, if you make them a bit smaller, you can fit them into your journals, or you could put like face masks, a scarf, any little gifts you can think of. Anyway, so that's that one. This one I made a bit bigger. So depending on how you use your base pages, it will determine how big or how you want to do your pouch. This one was a bit more glitzy, so I had these in my stash. These were big pearl patterns underneath the on the paper, the digital, so I've just done that there. And then this butterfly, I've cut it twice. The big butterfly here is actually on one of the digital backing papers, and so I've cut it out of that. And then I've put gold fleck on this one, just a bit of glitz and diamond sparkle there. This doily is from the Vintage Doilies kit, and once again I have just used my vintage hymn book to rip up and put pages. I've got a couple of different hymn books, so there's one in white and one in yellow, so it's a good contrast. This one I did stitch around the edge, some fussy cuts, and this is one of the digital papers in the Pansy kit as well. So there we go. And then this is from the fussy cut kit. It was a bit smaller. I've just blown it up twice the size to make it big on the back here, and then I've just put that sort of rainbow glitter glue on the bee's wings on that one. And then one that's a little bit different is this one. So what I did was I used now backing papers. What did It Is Well. Now if you have the It Is Well kit, you'll notice that that's in a lot of greens, yellows and purples, so I thought this would be perfect to do as a little pouch. Oh, I've just realized I haven't glued this one down, and the reason why, I did print, if you use your backing paper as book paper, if it's quite a thick paper, not a problem. If it's a bit flimsy, you'll want to definitely collage over the top to give it a bit of stability. This one I actually printed is this yellow check, which is from the It Is Well kit, and I printed on 160 GSM, so it was quite firm. So I didn't really need to worry about collaging on the inside here because I didn't need to make it any firmer. Now, if you stitch on the outside, obviously it's going to take up some room. So what I wanted to show you here was that once I'd collaged everything, I'd actually stitched around the edge of everything, and then I got two strips of paper, folded them in half, glued down one side onto here, and then what I need to do is run some glue along here and then press it down, and what that gives you is a gusset. And so it means whatever you put inside has got all the room up to there, so the stitching or the glue takes up room. But if you do a gusset like that, you can, whatever you've got inside, you can use maximum room. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So I just need to glue down that edge and stick that down. So this one is, once again, use the glitter on, it looks so beautiful, like gossamer wings on the dragonflies. And then we've got some fussy cuts here. How beautiful is this cross? So that's one of the fussy cuts in the Pansy set. This is from the Vintage Doilies, that beautiful green green doily on there and just sort of collaged, ripped some paper. This green is from the It As Well kit, and this is from my hymn book. But as I said, you could use these basic gospel journal page, Bible pages that you could use to collage as well. And so I just sort of stuck them there, and that's on the back. This is how gorgeous, another dragonfly, and then this is one of the fussy cuts with the Pansy kit as well. How gorgeous is that? And then this was a journal page. I had 2 prints of it. It was just sitting on my desk, so I just sort of folded it in half and have done the same thing where I've just altered. That's actually, is that glitter glue instead of the gold foil? So if you've got gold foil flakes or some glitter glue, I've put that there. There was some lace digital pattern there, so I've just used my scraps. Do you guys have, commenting down below if you have like a bag? I have a big fat bag of all the little offcuts that I use for lace, and so they're perfect just to throw onto little projects like this. That, yeah, you can do that. And then look, these dragonflies, aren't they fabulous? And so this is just a really little simple little pouch in there. Okay, so just what I wanted to mention again before we sign off is that if you do use baking paper, it has got that beautiful, so it's got baking paper in between the collage on the front and the collage down the back, and it just has that beautiful crinkling sound on it as well. So there we go. I think I'll leave that there. Lots of ideas for you. Hope you have fun. Comment down below if you're going to give this a go. I've made quite a few little pouches just ready to go for gifts and things like that, but remember, if you make them a bit smaller, you can put them in your journals. Okay, hopefully you've enjoyed that. God bless you all, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.